I do want to know this. I want to know this. Jimbo kind of gave us a hint. There's something there. Every newspaper in Texas, every media outlet in Texas, if you got an investigative arm, get to work. Here's some boots. Here's some gloves. Put your hard hat on. Let's go. Because Jimbo has just teed it up for you.
Carron Phillips, the floor is yours.
Well, first of all, there's a great story that's bubbling below the surface here that is full of humor and jokes that I would like to shine some light on. Is that me and Steve Weiss were tweeting about this earlier. If you're an HBCU today, you should be out here really doing some really good recruiting. Homecoming ticket sales should be going up today because we should be doing all of the things that we can do possibly on social media or abroad to shine light on our HBCUs, because today is one of those days where you can look at the SEC and the Nick Sabans and the Jimbo Fishes of the world and Dabo Swinney, let's not leave him out of this, and say, look, this is how they really think about you. Come on back home, which is why I have this shirt on and I'm representing my alma mater right now, because the shot that was thrown at Deion Sanders and Jackson State is the thing that, isn't going to get as much press as it should, because this Jimbo and this Nick Saban thing, newsworthy is because we haven't seen coaches do anything like this. Like, this is the closest thing we've seen since what? John Chaney and John Calipari when they got into it back in the day. But listen, I know Michael Holley isn't, feels differently as me and you do, Mike, about confrontation. But if you say that about another grown man in a press conference like today, then when they meet on the field of this season, I am prepared and hope there would be some smoke. Because when you use words like that, there needs to be some little bit of furniture moving going on. But as you said, as I was talking about earlier, listen, I have been one of the biggest critics of Deion Sanders and his grandstanding and what he's done at Jackson State and HBCUs, and I will continue to be with his clown behavior that I feel he's done. But I will stand with Deion and support him on this. Yes, this shot and the assertion that you can't get the number one player to flip from Florida State to Jackson State when Florida State has been trashed the last couple years. We're not even talking about how Florida State was even able to recruit the number one player with the product they put on the field lately. But the fact that black people just may not want to go to a school where they are celebrated and championed and loved, that is the issue that we should be talking about more. Because, like I said earlier, I will side on Deion with this because Jackson State ain't got the budget. Jackson State don't have the boosters. Jackson State doesn't have all of these things that Nick Saban is asserting that they have to even pull something like this.
Carron, that's what I was saying earlier. God forbid that black people can have nice things. And by nice things, I mean, affectionately, the number one prospect in the country. I mean, refer to them as a chain. My biggest issue is property, referring to them as being bought. And, look, it's not like it's Deion Sanders. It's like maybe Travis Hunter just wanted to go play for Deion Sanders. You know what I'm saying? Once upon a time, who we fooling? This entire sport was built on the backs of black people in general and HBCUs in particular.
Listen.
Rest in peace, Eddie. Rest in peace, Eddie Robinson. Rest in peace, Grambling. Rest in peace, all of the Hall of Famers who the National Football League was built on. Okay, that came out of HBCUs. So for him to sit there and turn and look down his nose as if, the only reason he would go to some place like Jackson State is because they paid him, is most definitely insulting.
And fellas, and can we just add this? We're going to get historical here. If you want to be historically accurate, let's not forget what we're talking about. We're talking about the University of Alabama. There's some players on Alabama, if they're of a certain age, if their parents are of a certain age, their parents remember. Okay, here we go. Their parents, alive and well, remember when Alabama had its first black player.
Mm-hmm.
So this is not Michael, Alabama ain't had black players in the 1950s?
Michael, I'm not even lying to you. Do you know who I talked to 2 days ago? John Mitchell. I talked to John Mitchell 2 days ago. How about that for full circle? I don't mean to cut you off, but I'm just saying, like, first black player, yeah, I talked to him the other day, okay? It was not that long ago where Sam Bam Cunningham, as some people have said, did more for integration in 60 minutes than the civil rights movement did in 60 years at the University of Alabama.
But it goes a little deeper than that, y'all. Like, let's think about it. Lord, like you said, Mike, Lord forbid somebody black wants to go to an HBCU like Jackson State, a program that has produced more Hall of Famers than certain top programs in the SEC. And if we want to tie this to the bigger picture, I remember when I was at the New York Daily News back in like 2018, I did this interview with this kid you might have heard of lately called Kayvon Thibodeau, when he went on a visit to FAMU. And he went on the unofficial. And I talked to him about it because it caused some national headlines, and it was bubbling under the surface a little bit, but didn't really blow up. And in that interview, Kayvon broke it down to me. And this when he was in high school. He was like, look, I didn't go over to FAM because I went to this camp at Florida State, went across the street. He was like, no, I wanted to see what FAM was about. He was like, I'm a California kid. We don't have HBCUs on the West Coast. Now, look, I might not wind up choosing FAM, and he wound up going to Oregon, but he was like, look, if you were a 3 or 4 star and these PWIs and these big programs are overlooking you or trying to change your position, go to a HBCU. He said this to a national publication like the New York Daily News when I was there. So this notion that's been getting a lot of play the last couple of years about HBCUs and top athletes, like, let's go back and give Kayvon Thibodeau his props because he was on it years ago. But we saw this in college basketball a couple of weeks ago. Y'all remember when the Isaiah Wong situation happened at the University of Miami? When we thought that he had, he was going to potentially transfer if he couldn't get more NIL at Miami, and then the world blew up because how dare a player want to potentially or allegedly renegotiate his contract and his NIL deal that he had outplayed, given that he was the only player on a team that went to the Elite Eight that had made all conference in the ACC 2 years in a row and was one of the biggest reasons why they made it to the Elite Eight. And I was at that Sweet 16 and Elite Eight in Chicago. I covered those 2 games. So we saw what this was going to do a couple of weeks ago with that situation. And look, we knew what this was going to be last July when NIL became national. It was only a matter of time before discussions like this started happening and coaches start doing these things because we knew when the workforce that looks like us was going to start getting money, things were about to change.
So we are all united. We're presenting a united front here. So do not want to distract too much from the task at hand, which is calling attention to Nick Saban's hypocrisy and his insulting remarks regarding the quality of an HBCU education or athletic participation. Having said all that, I feel like I'd be remiss if I didn't double back, Carron, and ask you about this so-called clown behavior you identified from Deion. What's your issue with Deion? I don't know that we've ever talked about that before.
Oh, I'm a good 5, 6, 7 columns deep. Like, where do you want to start? We can start with the fact that this is someone who got a black reporter banned from covering his team because of some shady situations they had on. And when he was about to get called on it with some actual facts and evidence, he had a black reporter banned. This is the same man who all of a sudden cares about HBCUs, but didn't care about them until he got on the payroll at one. This is the same man whose son is a freshman starting QB, about to be a sophomore, who said before the season started, we come here because we want to, not because we have to, taking a job at other players at programs at HBCUs. But yet, Deion's son, who had 20 offers before and was going to Florida Atlantic, did not have a single HBCU on his list. But all of a sudden, you care about HBCUs when your daddy is on the payroll at one. Like, we can go down the list and spend a lot of time on what Deion is doing, and you can say he's shining a light and he's bringing attention. Cool. But all attention ain't good attention. Because the last time I checked, this was a man who's told us willingly after the season was over that he took multiple. He got on Dan Le Batard and told us this. He took multiple job interviews during his first year on the job at PWIs. How can you care about us say you stand up for us and trying to change us if you are trying to leave us within the first 12 months you are there for these white schools who are going to pay you for? Are you here for us or are you here for Deion Sanders?
So so it sounds like you're one of those people. This been speculated for a while that this was just an opportunity and a stepping stone, that he wasn't really long and committed to this work. It seems like you feel like he's got one foot out the door essentially at the first opportunity. Is what you think?
He's had this out the door. All right, let's go back to last spring because Jackson State played that shorter spring schedule because of the pandemic that some schools were doing, right? Yeah. Do y'all remember the first game they won? They beat Edward Waters College, NAI school, blew them out. Y'all remember that first game? Deion came in the press conference. He didn't talk about what his players did, how they have, dealt with this pandemic and overcame and got their first win. What was the first post-game press conference of Deion Sanders' head coaching career like at the collegiate level? He spent it talking about himself because allegedly he got robbed. And he spent the first couple minutes talking about how he couldn't even call his mama because somebody stole his stuff. But lo and behold, here we go finding out later that somebody just moved his stuff so it wouldn't get taken. But we didn't hear about the students. We didn't hear about the passing yards, the defense, the offensive and defensive strategy. We didn't hear about any of the things those kids did for him. What's the first thing out of Deion Sanders' mouth? It was about Deion Sanders. That's the problem.
All right, noted. But I guess we'll wrap it up by, once again, like we said earlier, today is about Deion. No, it's not so much about Deion, but it's about Nick Saban and the Dabo Sweeneys of the world who have long made it about them versus the players. It's been a plantation mentality long enough. And, now that they get, it's crazy, now that they're getting paid over the table. Seems like it's a bigger problem than when players were getting paid under the table.
Right. That's right.
Everybody
they can't control it.
Everybody
they don't have control. And that makes them very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
That's the issue.
It's such a tragedy when Bryce Young is making $1 million, but he get you to the Final Four.
Carron, I said earlier, if you only got $3 million for 25 players at Alabama, you're doing it wrong. That ain't the right way. You're doing it the wrong way.
Yeah.
$3 million? That's all they got? That's all the money y'all bringing in? Hey, man, we appreciate you. Thanks for following through.
That's all he's willing to report. That's all that Nick Saban is willing to report right now. Hey, thanks for watching Brother from Another on YouTube. Make sure you hit subscribe before you leave, and be sure to watch us 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time on Peacock. Appreciate you.